Hey, what's up, guys? Pastor Scott here. I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon, and I will post this Wednesday morning. So you're probably watching this Wednesday at some point. At least I hope that you are, because you're gonna need to watch this video in order to be able to take the test and take it well. Unless you're just a superb studier of the material. And unless you took superb notes so that you don't need this study session. But I tend to assume that most people will need it, and that's why I've made this. And so hopefully you're watching this, getting ready for your test that you're going to take sometime tomorrow on Thursday. And hopefully this time together will be helpful for you. So I'm just going to jump right in, and we're going to get going here. If you have your study guide, you have your study guide that I sent to you yesterday on Tuesday. Get it out and look at the matching section. This is very, very similar to the format of previous tests that you've had. And by the way, before I get into it, just pause it. Anytime that you need to pause it, just do that. You don't have to just, listen to me just nonstop. I say that because I want to move a little fast through this because I don't want this video to be too long for you. But you might have to pause it from time to time in order to kind of catch up and not be too overwhelmed by my continual talking. As I've mentioned in the past, with matching, what you want to do is start with the definition and move from the definition to the word, not the other way around. So in other words, don't say, okay, there's psychology there, which one of these is psychology? You might want to instead look at the definition, the willful rebellion against God, which is letter A there on your page, and then look up above and find which one of those talks about willful rebellion against God. And then even if you don't know what that one is, but you might know what another definition goes with, start with the ones that you know, and then just slowly but surely eliminate all of them, as I've said in the past. So letter A, you'll find a little line next to each word at the top there. That's for you to write the letter of the definition. And it'll be a little bit just slightly different when you take the test, but this study session, as it always is designed to help you to get this into your mind so well that when you take the test, you'll be ready to go. Okay, so let's just move through this. Letter A, the willful rebellion against God. Look at that list of words there. Which one do you think that goes with? The answer is sin. Sin. Sin is the willful rebellion against God. The next one, letter B, the belief that humans are both physical and spiritual beings. Which one do you think that goes with? That actually goes with psychological dualism. And the definition of psychological dualism is that humans are both physical and have both physical and spiritual elements to their brain, their mind. The physical element is the brain, the spiritual element is the mind, but this is just talking about our being in general. So that's why that definition goes there. Psychological dualism, humans are both physical and spiritual beings. The third definition on the page there, the non-physical mental activities. Remember what I just said, which one of those do you think that goes with? That actually goes with mind. Mind. So mind is letter C, as opposed to the brain, which has to do with the physical mental activities. Letter D there, the physical gray matter that is inside your head. What do you think that goes with? That is, got it, brain. That's definitely brain right underneath mind, up above. That's the physical gray matter that's inside your head. Letter E, the belief that humans are only of one essence. This one's a little bit challenging, and I'm going to actually move on right now. I'm going to move on to the next one, so we'll come back to E here in just a second. Look at letter F, the study of the human mind. Which one do you think that goes with? That should be a pretty easy one. Psychology, that's the study of the human mind. There might be some of you who might want to study psychology when you get into college, because a lot of people do that. Letter G, the belief that the human mind is completely spiritual. Which one do you think that goes with? That's transcendental monism. transcendental monism, that everything about the mind is spiritual, nothing physical. So that leaves us here with the last two that we've not dealt with are letter E, the belief that humans are of only one essence, and then letter H, the belief that the human mind is completely physical. Which one do you think goes where? Well, I'll just tell you here. The second one, psychological monism, this has to do with the idea that the mind and the brain, that there's no distinction between them, so they're the same thing. So that would seem to go with the definition that humans are of only one essence. So psychological monism is letter E, which leaves you with one left, which is naturalistic monism, which teaches the belief that the human mind is completely physical. That makes sense. Physical, natural, naturalistic only, that's monism. Naturalistic monism means only natural, completely physical. You see those go together. So what you have here are all these definitions. Hopefully you got them all clear. And when you take the test tomorrow, hopefully you're clear on those things. Moving on here, down the page, which worldview holds to a dualistic view of psychology? Is it naturalistic, transcendental, Christian, the first two, or all of them? Which one do you think? The answer is Christian. You'll notice that Christianity is sort of the middle way between naturalism and transcendentalism. Transcendentalism is that the only things that matter are things that are the things that are spiritual, not physical. Naturalism, which is really the way of thinking in the Western world that we have today, is that only the things that are physical matter. Christianity takes the best from both and says that both the physical and the spiritual, non-physical things matter. That they both matter because God created His universe to be both physical and spiritual, and so they both matter. That's why the answer is Christian. That we hold to a dualistic view of psychology. Body and mind are both a part of it. Secondly, does humanistic psychology blame our moral failure on society, a lack of choice or free will, a false feeling of guilt, all of the above, or none of the above? This might be a little hard because we haven't talked a whole lot about this, but the answer is all of the above. Humanistic psychology, usually if a person is counseling somebody with problems, they'll blame the person's problems either on their society, the fact that they were maybe or the idea rather that they were held down and couldn't do what they wanted to do, so lack of choice, or a false feeling of guilt over things that maybe they did in the past that they shouldn't feel guilty about, or something like that. And that's really, all three of those things are usually how naturalistic sort of worldly psychology works in diagnosing problems. So all of the above is the answer. As a Christian, I would say that all of these things can have an influence on us, and they can hurt us. Society can hurt us. Lack of choice in the sense of maybe we're abused or held down or something, a false feeling of guilt, that can hurt us, of course. But we start with things spiritually, and we start with our relationship with God to diagnose problems. And that's the difference between Christian psychology and naturalistic, or humanistic rather, psychology. Now moving into true or false, there are only two questions on the test. The Christian worldview states that we are made up of both spirit and body. What do you think about that one? Is it true or false? The answer, as you hopefully know now, is true. Christian view does state both spirit and body, not just one or the other, but spirit and body. Even if you believe that soul is to be distinguished from spirit, still it's important to just understand this distinction. That's called the trichotomous distinction. I've told you I hold to a dichotomous view, so does your textbook, and I think the scripture does too, but it teaches that both of those comprise human nature. Secondly here, the Christian worldview states that the spiritual reality